Welcome, everyone. Hello, how are you? My name is Victor Monga. I am the producer of this podcast. Today, we're not going to talk about cybersecurity. A lot of you had reached out to us and asked, how do I start my own podcast? What things that you had planned, or how do you sustain, or how do you grow? So, I'm not expert on this one. So, what I brought my friend Jamie here, she will be actually helping us with those tips and tricks. Jamie, welcome to the show. Give our audience a quick introduction. When you started your podcast, what prompted you, and then we'll jump into the planning the podcast, if you will.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Victor. It's exciting to be here. So, I'm a podcast producer. I own my own company called Brave Moon Podcasts. And we actually do help podcasters, especially in the health, fitness, and wellness space, which is an interesting twist. But we help people launch and actually produce their podcasts as an ongoing production. Where I got started actually in that. So I've always been in the marketing world, actually. I have a double degree in marketing and psychology. And so that really lent to getting into the marketing world. I got into content creation pretty early on. And then in 2020, when everything started to going online, I had one client who said, we really need to start a podcast. And I thought, I think I could do that.
Nice. Yeah, you have the training, you have the education, marketing, content, strategy. Hey, why not?
Exactly. So, yes. So I ended up reaching out to the only person I knew who had started a podcast, my cousin, and had a great conversation with her. She downloaded all the information that I needed to get started, at least. And yeah, we ended up producing an incredible podcast. It was with a client, they're Virgin Active Health Clubs. They're global, actually, in 8 different countries, not in the United States, which is sad,
Wow.
but it's a beautiful health club. And yeah, we started that. And by the end of it, we'd had 2 solid seasons, 70,000 downloads, global
Wow.
listenership. And yeah, it was a really great podcast. And then from there, it was just like, hey, maybe I need to make this a thing. So I started expanding, getting more clients, and here we are.
I want all of those tips, by the way. So, without further ado, let's talk about the first step, planning the podcast. So, again, a lot of our audience and listeners had reached out to us. Hey, what's the first thing someone should think about before starting a podcast? Jamie, what's your take on that one?
So it's such a great question, and it's a really important thing to think about right from the start is what do you want out of your podcast? So I think a lot of people have very exciting passions that they want to talk about, and they find themselves talking about it a lot, and they say, "Man, I'd love to start a podcast." And so you think it's easy. Let's just grab a mic and we'll record some stuff
Yeah.
and we'll just throw it on there, and it sounds so easy. And then you find out as you get into it, there's a lot more work involved
Oh,
in
yeah.
a podcast, as you very well know, Victor. And so you ultimately have to first decide, whether it sounds easy or not. You have to decide actually if you do have the time and the dedication to produce a podcast. So we are talking, I know everyone thinks, I'll just be like an hour a week. I mean, honestly, if we're really being honest about it, it's going to be about 6 to 8 hours of your time every week. What do you think? Does that sound about right? Maybe a little less as you continue to.
Sure. I think so. Once you have your system and everything mature, I think it's 1 to 10 ratio. So every 1 minute of the production or the actual podcast is about 10 minutes of your preparation or work. So if you're thinking about 60 minutes, that's 600 minutes of the preparation, pre-production, post-production, and then again, social media and all that. So I think, as you said, it's a lot of commitment. It's not as simple as that you pick up a mic and start talking and that's about it. There's a lot goes into it. And one of the things, again, Jamie, how important is to define a niche or theme so that how narrow should it be or how broad it should be? What do you think about that when it comes to podcast?
That's such a great question. I've been playing around with this a lot lately. There's some nuances here. Think about this. I often think in terms of podcasts as another social media platform, right? I think about it as a way that you can have influence in a specific space. And so when we're talking about Instagram or things like that, a lot of people oftentimes will choose a niche like, a busy mom who wants to help with eating habits or, nutrition, etc. Or, you try to find these niches. And I think podcasts are very similar in that you need to find your specific niche. So let's say that you have a passion. Let's just say that you have a passion about nutrition, since I already mentioned nutrition. You have a passion for nutrition. You're a nutritionist. You don't want to just start a podcast that is about nutrition because that's already been done, right? Like that exists, and we need to find what makes your podcast uniquely you. Like, what is your lens and what is your story through nutrition that has brought you to start this podcast? So, for instance, with nutrition, maybe you're going to focus on, so who do you love to help the most? Which patients of yours, which clients of yours have you been most passionate about and most excited about? And that could be anywhere from people that maybe have IBS, or that people who are trying to lose weight. Specifically, I hate talking about losing weight because I have a lot of issues about, our society and our culture and how we try to tell people to lose fat and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And so we could get into that. Want to convey that there's the layer of what you're most passionate about, and then there's your story. So how do you create a niche that's uniquely yours within the broader space that you're looking at?
Yep.
So yeah.
I think one of the examples I gave to our listeners and audience in the past, where if you're trying to start a podcast, at least pitch that idea at about your friend or even like someone who you think is the target audience, right? So if nutrition is your target audience, we find someone, try to pitch that your ideas or your insights and ask them, was that valuable? What I just shared with you, would you want to listen more? Would you want to tell other people to listen to me? It's a simple test, but that'll really tell you, is it worth the investment? And talking about investment, it's not as simple as just buying a mic and starting. There's a huge investment. So in the past, I would say in 2 years, I have spent a lot of money to finding the right platform to record, because sometimes the audio video is choppy, finding the right lights, the mic, the stream deck or the camera, the confidence monitor. Oh my God, the things just keep adding up. The whole point I'm trying to make is, before you go into that rabbit hole, you want to know if your idea is worth listening. That is the whole point. Podcast, your idea, is it worth pursuing long term? And don't start with thinking about like, I want to make money off of it just from day one. Podcast is something that you're going to have to start giving something to people to listen to. They need to latch onto it. And then sure, the advertisements and all that comes. But you can't start with advertisement. They're going to ask how many downloads or your outreach. And if you tell them like, I only have 10 downloads per episode, I'm sorry, nobody's coming to you.
Yes, and just like Instagram or TikTok, no one's expecting to make money from the very beginning, right? And podcasts are the same way. That said, I do have some tips and tricks. I always provide these to my clients. I always do try to say monetize first in terms of strategy. So always setting yourself up to monetize, right? Making sure that you're using the right platforms that allow you to monetize. Also making sure that you think about that extra layer of what you could be offering listeners in addition to your free episodes as well. That's a great tip and strategy to get started right away. So, not just starting your podcast, but also starting your Patreon at the same time. And then just to go back really quick to what you said about asking your, friends or colleagues that have a similar passion or are interested in the topic that you want to cover. I think that's a really great idea. And I also think it would be a good idea to somehow get a hold of strangers, right? Because friends and colleagues, people that you would go to a bar with, they're going to give you opinions and such, but it might be kind of filtered through how they
Sure.
know you and things like that. So
They'll
another great,
sugarcoat it for you. Yeah.
right? So another great idea, in addition to what you're talking about, because absolutely get your friends and colleagues involved, is to go to any platforms that you have. So if you do have an Instagram following or TikTok following email list, or you can actually go to forums too. Go into Facebook groups that are speaking to your passionate topic, your topic, and then ask them, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting this podcast. What would be most interesting to you?" Because that way you're getting strangers' opinions. Like even trolls could get involved, which we learn a lot from trolls. So yes,
Yeah.
these things, there's other opportunities to.
Surveys, do a lot of surveys before you actually launch it. Again, I think we spent about 7 months before we actually launched our first episode, just learning the market. Why would someone come to our podcast? What's different about it? Is there something already out there that we can just contribute to? And that's another thing. Maybe you don't want to start your own. Maybe you want to co-host. Maybe you have something that you can share, but then you can make a commitment for every month or some sort of cadence. So maybe it's a one-off thing for you. Go partner with someone. So there's a lot when it comes to the planning, but please do plan before you launch your first episode. Now, Jamie, what gear or software do you use or recommend for someone just starting out? Like minimal cost, something trying to just start their journey with podcast? I'll share my opinions as well, but I want to hear from you first.
Oh, yeah, great. Well, I definitely always lean towards the budget savvy style. I mean, even for myself, I'm super budget savvy and I have always been that way. And
I like it
so
how you said budget savvy. I usually go for cheap.
cheap, I'm totally cheap. I am so cheap. I do like to get high quality, right? So immediately when I get something, whoops, this is not the high quality I was expecting. But at the same time, I do need to find that budget friendly, that sweet spot. And that's something to consider with your podcast. So some of the things I recommend straight away, recording on something like Riverside, which is where we're recording right now. I personally feel, and I've tried all of them, feel that this is the best remote recording platform that is on the market today.
Hands down.
Right?
And just you said, we have tested as well. I'm not gonna name shame anyone, but we started with the OBS, which is free version, by the way. It's a great platform, but it's very tech savvy. If you're not tech savvy, you will be lost. So that's one problem with OBS.
Yeah.
And you can figure it out, that's great. But most of my guests, they're not tech savvy, let's say. Then I have to plan or I have to provide IT support. It's not worth it. So Riverside, it's turnkey solution. Bit pricey to start, but if you can afford, it's definitely something worth it. And we have been using it. We're really happy with it.
Awesome. Yeah, Riverside is, I think it's $12 a month. I think there's a more premium subscription you can get, but it's so reasonable for everything that you get out of it. But yeah, I won't name shame either. But yeah, I've used quite a few that, yeah, to your point, aren't user friendly. And when you're bringing on guests who offer so much value, but maybe they haven't done as many podcasts before, they don't have the right equipment, they don't have the right setup, maybe they just don't know what to use. Riverside is an incredible way to record. So yeah, so Riverside is one. I also recommend, this is really simple, but if you're not a graphic designer, using Canva for your artwork, for your social media assets, they've really made graphic design user friendly. And so that's a really easy, very cheap platform, inexpensive platform in terms of, I think they all make them around $12 a month.
Yeah, and if you're a student, I think there are additional discounts or offers or even free options with the Canva Premium. And Canva, to your point, Jamie, they made it almost like dumb proof. I won't tell who, but in my family, I have someone older generation who literally picks up TV remote and try to call someone. He uses Canva. Again, not gonna name anyone. He knows how to use Canva. So they definitely had made it so easy. Drag and drop, so many templates, change your text, and off you go. Really good looking. You have your social media designs or anything that you want to promote your podcast.
Absolutely. And then I think then the last one is, or there's many things we could talk about. We could talk about our room setup, our equipment and such like that. But in terms of program software, the other one I'm thinking about is your distribution platform, right? So your podcast host. And some of the free ones, there's a couple free ones out there that are pretty comprehensive. So the one I've been recommending lately is Red Circle.
Okay.
And so this one's a platform, distribution platform. Now you can buy a premium subscription and then you can get access to things like automatic distribution to YouTube,
Sure.
more comprehensive analytics, things like that. But they offer a pretty comprehensive free plan as well, which I think is a great, right? And a great way to get started, right? When you're just starting your podcast, you don't want to just sign up for a expensive hosting platform that's going to distribute, and you don't really know how long you're going to be doing your podcast for. Hopefully for the long term, but
Start budget savvy, as Jamie said, budget savvy.
yes. And then Spotify for podcasters is another great free solution.
Yeah.
That is that's also great as well. So yeah, those are kind of my top line ones.
For us, it's we use Buzzsprout. So you upload it once and then you have connections to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever you want to submit your podcast eventually. But Buzzsprout is your library. It is not free, or at least that's not what we're using, but it's very inexpensive. Like, again, $12, I think, per month. So back to the 12 months.
It's $12 a month.
Yeah. So again, if you're planning your podcast, that's one thing I would definitely recommend. Budget that first. How much is going to cost you? And I wouldn't cost just for a month. I would think of this at least for a 1 year commitment. That for 1 year, if you would have to pay these $12 per month, how many of these $12 can you pay for a year? And then it comes to the hardware, the microphone and the camera and all that. Again, there is a wide range from $50 to $50,000. So we won't get into that. But again, Jamie, if you just tell us what you're using so our audience can see or hear that what you're actually using it today when it comes to like your microphone or camera or something like that, and I'll share the same.
Yeah. Okay. So I have the Rode Podcaster mic. This is something that is, I think it's $299, I think it was. And it actually has an internal shock mount as well as an internal pop filter. So
Okay.
that's a really nice feature that it just is all buttoned up like that. I really like it because it's white. I don't know why, but I just thought I wanted to be unique and different. And,
Podcaster has black color somehow. I don't know why.
exactly. I think is that most people have a Shure, which I know you're going to mention. I'm pretty sure you have a Shure as well.
Yeah.
And then I have Bose noise canceling headphones, but
Yeah.
the key here is to make sure that it's wired, which you know very well that
Yeah.
wireless headphones don't work as well because there's audio lag. So having that wired is good. I have it plugged right into my microphone. I then have a boom arm as well, which is the Rode boom arm, so they match up. I know that it's compatible with other things. And then those are the main ones. Oh, and then I'm recording on my MacBook Pro. And then I have a 3-point lighting system. So I've got my main light, my fill light, and then I've got a backlight right
Yeah.
behind me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same setup. Most of what you will see, especially when it comes to podcast, not like video recording. Because in podcasts, yes, you're talking, but you're not like, okay, video production system where you have like fancy cameras and lighting system. I have mostly the same, what you said. I have two mic system. One is Elgato, and then I have Rode, Boom, Arm, and this one is Slingshot. Why two? Because sometimes I'm talking here or sometimes I'm talking here. So I want to capture audio from both sides. Again, you don't need to get fancy when you start. I am also a fan of Elgato family. So for those who have not seen, check out Elgato. They have a lot of actually pre-built podcast bundles, if you will. So Elgato camera, Elgato teleprompter, so Elgato light, Elgato stream deck, Elgato mic, Elgato XLR, Wave XLR. So again, you can start and set your budget that I only want to spend $1,000, and you can look at these bundles and they have great deals sometimes, a lot of discounts going on. So you may want to fit into that. Again, you have to start somewhere, make some mistakes, and then you'll grow from there. You'll set what you want and you'll choose what kind of mic you prefer based on your audio. You may want to change your camera or the lights. Again, the sky's the limit. Start somewhere, but plan first. Why do you want the podcast? All of these hardwares and softwares should be the second line item. First is, how do you get to your first 100 listeners? That's the question you want to ask yourself, and maybe that will help you to understand why do you want your podcast to be out there. Jimmy,
Yes.
as we wrap up, one question I get this a lot, and you come from marketing, so I want to ask you, how do you actually distribute or get the word out? Because podcast is something, there's not a whole lot of like, we can't capture demographics, like who's listening to my podcast. I have no idea. I can see the countries, I can see some other information, but I don't know it was Jamie from New York. I have no idea. I see. So again, how do you actually start to distribute on social media and all?
Yes. Okay. The first thing I always bring up when I'm asked this question is I want people to realize that the listening apps are their own marketing or promotional platform in themselves. I think a lot of people just kind of tend to dump their show notes and not consider how important these show notes are for in terms of promoting your podcast. But when you go and you put an episode onto YouTube, onto Spotify, onto Apple Podcasts, these are actually platforms that that listeners are searching within to find the right podcast for them. So, if they're interested in nutrition, I'll keep on going with the same example. If they're interested in nutrition, they're going to be typing in nutrition or nutrition for IBS right into these listening apps. So you have to remember that your first line of defense, no matter what, is actually your show notes and your episode titles that you choose and your podcast description, making sure that you are capturing those SEO keywords and key phrases that your listeners are going to be searching for in the app. So I always like to say that, like, if you do nothing else, just focus on the listening apps and making sure that your show notes and you're using keywords for that. So that's the first step. And then everything else and above it is extra additional layers that are wonderful to have as well. So I highly recommend that you're on at least one other social media platform where your listeners are at as well. So if you're I know that we have a lot of people that are professionals that are listening to your podcast right now. So for example, I would be thinking about LinkedIn,
Yes.
right? LinkedIn is where I would be promoting this podcast or anything where you are targeting professionals.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, LinkedIn is actually I've noticed that in general, it actually tends to be a really powerful marketing tool for any podcasters because I find that the people that are on LinkedIn are also looking for distractions, multitasking. I can't do this, but I know a lot of people work and listen to podcasts at the same time, which is I find amazing that they can do that, but depends on the line of work, etc. But I find that that is the most engaged platform right now in terms of when I post something on podcast or when I post something for myself or for my clients on LinkedIn, I find that I get the most engagement there, clicking directly into the listening apps to listen to the episode.
And you
But
tap into like-minded as well, because then you could see their profile, that you could see where they work, what they like a little bit, because they post as well. So again, you're tapping into that professional network that you may want to advertise your podcast. So that's also in a way that you can send them direct message saying that, hey, I launched my podcast. Give it a listen, give me your feedback, that kind of thing.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Yeah, hands down. And then in terms of also what I would say and what you had mentioned about, how do you know these people? How do you know who they are? How do you connect with them? I'd say the biggest thing that you want to do is that you want to figure out how to get them on your email list. Just because when you get someone on your email list, that's the one place on the internet that you own, right? Like you own the right to email them directly and you get to know them, you get to know their information better and you can email them and ask them for feedback and etc like that. So how do you get them on the email list? Always be thinking about a lead magnet that you can present on your podcast. So in every episode, having a little call to action that says, hey, if you're interested in what we just talked about, here is a PDF resource for you. Just click on that, provide your
Call to
email
action.
address.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give them
absolutely.
something that they can take away after they listen to your podcast. So they remember
Exactly.
you. They'll remember that I came to Jamie's show or I listened to Jamie's podcast. She advised me to go check out this link and this is really great. So they associate that. And that's again another way of growing the likability of your podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it helps you build your community, I mean, when they know you and you're giving them something for free, when they're, interested in your that's building a community that is
100%.
yeah. So,
So I'll wrap up with this one. The mistakes I have made when I started my podcast. First, I listened to too many advices. So when you start your podcast, if you start telling people you're starting your podcast, you're going to start getting emails or LinkedIn messages from these professionals that they'll say, we will help you grow your podcast. You don't even have a podcast. The growing part comes after. So I distracted myself with the one too many of these paying engagements and understanding what can they do. And most of them, they'll use the heavy words like strategy, growth, and all these. My advice, and again, if you're starting, what was the term you used? Economic? No, budget savvy.
yeah.
So if you're starting budget savvy, honestly, DIY. What's the thing? Start scratch. So you understand how things work. Make some mistakes, but not too costly. Second, don't have an expectation right away, at least, that your podcast is going to yield some money. So if you were to actually take a loan to start your podcast, not the best idea because you're not going to get a whole lot of money to start. Eventually, absolutely, you will grow your followership. You will get that first $100,000 check from your advertiser. Absolutely, that takes time. So don't expect that right away. That shortcut to grow podcasts, even though there are consulting companies out there, they'll claim that they will do it for you. Content is the king when it comes to podcast. Your community is the king. So I would say when it comes to mistakes, I have tons. If you really want to reach out to me, let me know. But listen to yourself. Listen to why you want to do the podcast, and then everything comes after. That's my advice to you as we wrap up. JB, thank you so much coming on the show, giving us your insights and tips and tricks since you are professional and you're helping your clients to start the podcast. This very valuable lessons what you just shared with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.